Hello, and welcome to the Barbarian Philosopher podcast. As always, I am your host, Jerome Acevedo. This is episode number 4, and I'm joined again with my dear friend Robert. Robert, what's going on with you, brother?
Oh man, thanks for having me, bro. It's good seeing you again also.
Hell yeah. It's been a little minute. It's been about a month or so?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. You know what's cool though, just to touch base on that, I'm sure everyone has this, like you got some people that you don't talk to them for the longest, and then you just talk to them whenever. It could be fucking a month, years. You just talk to them, you just pick up right back. Like, that's cool, man.
Absolutely. It's always good to have those unconditional friendships and relationships.
Yeah, it's kind of really rare and hard to find too, but I'm noticing like that's what kind of defines you a little bit. It has a little kind of like an influence on who we become, you know, but
yeah,
that's pretty cool, man. So I'm glad that you're one of those friends that I get to just, doesn't matter what you're doing, what I'm doing, we could be at a different longitude and latitude, and this fucking technology is just boop, 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 connect us right up, and then...
No question. It's, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. That's, for me, and this is, it's funny how you kind of learn the same lessons over and over in life, just at a deeper level. I remember one person giving the analogy that people think of success as like a graph where your line is constantly going up and down, but in one direction.
Okay,
and
generally up, yeah.
Yeah. He said, rather think of it as you're going in like a spiral, right? So that or a circle or a spiral, so you're constantly passing the same landmarks over and over. You're going up.
It's like a...
But as you go in a circle, you constantly pass by the same thing.
It's like a spiraled elevator almost.
Exactly.
It just keeps going up.
And one of the big things for me in 2016 has been the importance of kind of who you surround yourself with. I think the last time we spoke on the phone, I was telling you about the book that I was reading, The Way of Men.
Yes.
And
I need to get that ASAP.
Yeah, definitely get it. The author, Jack Donovan, was talking about, kind of from an evolutionary perspective, how human beings, and men in particular, have kind of socialized, and picking your tribe or your group, you know, based on what they bring to the group. And I think in modern context, oftentimes we can find ourselves with a lot of additional people that become like extra parts on a race car. Yeah. And they slow you down. And you can kind of knock certain things off and become more aerodynamic. You know what I'm saying? And just kind of the importance of being cognizant of who you have in your circle and what they bring to the table and how they influence you has been one of my big lessons in 2016.
That's so cool, bro. And the reason why I find that fascinating is because I agree 100%. That's super important. And I know I'm going to learn more when I read that book. But the funny thing about what you just said is, for me, it was kind of the opposite.
Okay.
Where it's going to fluctuate for me, because I'm going to need to get to a team that's like surrounding people that are better, or, you know, at my level or better, right? But for me, the opposite happened, Jay. Like, a whole bunch of people kind of let me down because I thought that they were going to be able to do this and this and this and this and this. And I kind of retreated back into myself, where I was like, well, if I just did it myself, then that would have got done.
Right.
And if I just did this, then shit, I almost could have saved money and got that done.
Right.
You know, and probably saved the friendship.
Right.
So it was kind of weird where, like, I completely agree with what you just said. But what I've learned in 2016 is probably that I need to become the best pillar that I can provide to this foundation of a tribe, as we're going to call it, and to build. So I need to become the strongest pillar there. Right. And then if I surround myself around these pillars that are doing the same, if not better, then it's like, yo, now we're a tribe, and now we can do a whole bunch, and that's some people kind of get it when they're young, you know, like the people I grew up, these are my ride or dies. And other people in other scenarios and other, you know, ways of growing up, they didn't get that. They didn't have no like real bonding with, they were just in a suburb area where everyone kind of was separated, and they're all being guided and taught by each household. And, you know, in the hood, it's like you learn shit as a group, as a community, some of the times in the street anyways. And these other ones, they you know, they don't make friends like that. They go damn near off of get the best this, the best, and then they surround themselves around those people. And then when they go to college, they do the same thing. Well, we do the same thing in the street, but it's most people just stick to the, yo, these are my ride or dies. And I guess what I'm trying to say is it's cool to expand out of that and go to bring new people into your tribe, you know, because you're only going to get better if you get out there and see what you're lacking. So when I was a kid, like, you know, like you and me were hanging out, it was like that, like I got your back, you got my back. It was like without question, whatever I go through, you go through, like we're both here, you know, this group is here, like what we go through, we go through. But I'm learning as I get older, like kind of going back to that spiraling elevator that you're talking about. It's like you're going through the same landmarks, but you're just elevating. So you should be able to use that experience to make it better and better and better for yourself as you go along, right? That's the concept. But I don't know. I'm just so focused on like being the best you can be. Almost as to say, like, you don't need a tribe. I'm as good as everyone specialty task in my tribe. I'm good at all that shit. And then when you join the tribe, it's elevated 1,000 more %. But you've become the very best at what you've lacked. So if you were a grower and you weren't a hunter, then you were really good at making, you know, fruit and vegetables growing, whatever, you know, right? You were growing all this farm. And so you know how to like provide in that sense, right? But this other guy, he's really good at hunting, so he provided in that sense. You know, this other guy, he was like the communicator of the village, and he'd go and barter off special deals that would benefit the tribe, and best communicator would, you know. So everyone had their task and thing. But I feel like as you know, just time progresses, as humans progress and we get smarter and sharper and we have all this technology and all this stuff coming, I feel like we're evolving into a species that can now do all of the things that were considered a specialty before, that supposedly only certain people knew how to do, or they were really good at it. You can become good at it, and you can do.
Okay, let me stop you and maybe add to that a little bit, or at least the way that I see that.
Yeah.
The way or how I'm interpreting what you're saying or expressing here. And so for starters, you mentioned, you know, there's generally like the tribe that you start out with as a young man or as a young person. Right? And sometimes as you grow older, one of two things are going to happen. Well, one of a few things are going to happen. Either A, you and that tribe stay exactly the way you are. And this is where you get like generation after generation after generation, where the granddaddy stayed on the same corner that the son is staying on, that the grandson is. Everybody does the same thing.
Well, hold on. I don't mean to cut you off, but to say on that, what you just said, that we all start off with our own tribe at the beginning. But like, for some people, you can't choose that necessarily when you're of a certain age.
Absolutely.
You're just, that's what you're thrown, that's what you're given. This is what you're gonna do because the granddaddy and did it. So what I'm saying is, we're learning and evolutionizing into a species that has choice now.
Yes. And
it's like, as soon as you become aware, then you get to make those choices.
That brings the other options into play. So you have one option, we'll call that just for convenience, option A, right? Where your tribe stays the same, everybody stays the same, whatever skill set they have, that's the skill set they have, point blank, end of story. Right? The next option is everybody in the tribe works to grow together. And the tribe as a whole starts escalating, or rather elevating on that spiral elevator that we're talking about, right? The other option is one or some of those tribe members see the necessity or the value in elevating and others don't.
Yes.
And that's when you come to a parting of ways. And
Yes.
that's where you get into what I was talking about with the aerodynamics thing, like on a car, where you can have these bulky extra pieces when you're going at 30 miles an hour,
Yes.
but if you want to get up to 90, you can't have those. You got to start taking things off. And it doesn't have to be anything personal. It doesn't have to be like a fuck you type of thing.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, I think in life it's necessary for people to come to the realization that if I want to reach this next level, the skill set that, fucking Bob and Jim and Marcus have isn't going to cut it. So either I can try to bring them and their skill set up,
right,
or I got to cut them out,
right,
and try to bring somebody else in. Now, to the point that you're talking about with getting strong, we're talking about individual tribe members. Bob is good at hunting,
right.
Jim is good at growing, so on and so forth, right? There's another level, I think, and that is being the tribal leader, right? The tribal leader may not actually be the best arrow maker, right? But
that's a very valid point. Okay, yeah.
He has to know enough about arrow making to be able to dictate and see how the arrow maker fits into the plan.
Correct.
So he has to have his strengths, but also pull up this area.
Yes.
He may not be the best fucking fisherman,
right,
but he can't just leave that as a weak spot. He has to pull his knowledge of that up so he can better understand how the fisherman fits into the tribe and kind of see the bigger picture. And I think maybe that's what you're talking about here in the phase that you might be in, when it's like, I'm growing, but maybe not being so reliant on everybody else and their one skill set, but bringing all of my skill sets to the highest level that I can bring them, so that they're more. It's a more cohesive. I can bring more value to the tribe as a whole.
Okay, absolutely, 100%. Basically, if you were to sum up everything that I was saying, is you're saying we start in tribes and we want to build these tribes and we want to have that foundation of people that we rely on or people that we allow into our group of what we want to do. Mm-hmm. And basically what I just said in short term would be, why doesn't everyone, or what I'm learning is everyone should become their own tribal leader. Everyone should try and reach that level where they're a little bit more. I mean, that's what I'm saying. All this technology that's out, it's ridiculous. I remember the days, bro, when this shit had to load up and fucking bar by bar going down, centimeter after centimeter, information would load up.
Right. And
now it's just boom, phone, boom, Siri, Alexa, Echo, whatever the fuck, Charlie Bravo. You say it and boom, you can get the information. Right. I mean, books have been around for forever, and before that it was on scrolls that would, you couldn't waste that much scrolls, so you had to get to the point. Boom, here's a bulletin point, the shit turned into almost laws and rules. And we all kind of base on that, and it's and obviously those scrolls, that's why they make movies about them, like protect that ancient scroll. Fucking, that shit has hundreds of, who knows, countless wisdom pieces on there that no one else knows if that hasn't been duplicated or scanned or copied or printed FedEx, you know what I mean? So that's why I think stuff like this is important, that people need to realize that, hey, I can do better. Like, I am this, but I can be that.
Right.
And that's the whole, what the life coaching and all that stuff. But, like, I feel that, like, it's just already in each individual. Like, they might need a little bit of help unlocking it and stuff, but for the most part, you are you and you're going to become whoever you want to become. We're all caterpillars. Whoever fucking wants to fly, they just go in there, they shut their eyes, they see it, they believe it, they get out there and they're fucking flying. And some people just don't have that congruency to go all the way from beginning to end, like you were saying with completing marathons in different cities but not finishing them. You know, you go and do that 10 times. You've semi-completed an actual triathlon if you would have done it all in one spot.
Well, let's kind of give some context to that, because you don't have to mention any names or anything like that. But you were talking about a friend of yours and kind of how did that conversation come into play? So
basically, I got a friend that, you know, good kid, really good, you know, lots of potential. Just it's kind of like when you see someone in the street and they haven't been taking care of themselves, but you see the potential and you think, if I trim them up and do this and that and just slim them down, I get them a record deal and sign them, and then boom, you know, start them. But same thing, I see potential in this kid, and he has the problem of, he lived at home and he kind of ventured out and did something away from his home, which is already props through and through, because most people don't even leave their city, you know, rather their state, to go to another place with no friends. Dude, I'll never forget that time. That one summer or whatever, when you were at my crib and we were in the pool in the summertime and we were talking about going to new schools. And I was like, yo, what are we going to say, dude? We're going to new schools and shit. And you just were like, hey, want to be my friend? And it was just like, we were just cracking up. But that was back then, bro, we learned the whole breakthrough with either, you know, your voice or what actions or whatever, to get out of that comfort zone. We were about to go through a comfort zone, and we jokingly said some shit that actually happened in order for us to progress the way we did. And that's the unsecret laws. Anyways, let me go back. My bad. I'm going on these tangents, but that's because I smoke still. So, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, except if you don't like tangents, then there's something wrong with it. But so this kid, right, he's got potential, and he leaves and ventures off, and then he goes and tries to live elsewhere, and it doesn't work out or whatever, so then he goes back home, goes back to his nest, and, you know, kind of regroups himself, and then builds up enough courage again to eventually be like, you know what, I'm going to go out to wherever the hell. So then he goes out onto the other thing, doesn't succeed for whatever reasons or, you know, excuses, which plenty of people just by default come up with. That's the way we cope with things, right? When we don't know. So he does that, goes back. Now he's in Los Angeles and he's thinking about going back home. And I'm like, yo, if you keep doing that, like, you're just going back to the same place you started. And that's where we came into the marathon and saying that you go to one city to do the Chicago Marathon and you only get to 8 miles. You're like, oh, I can't make it. That's it. Like, I'm done. You throw in the towel. You know, you say, fuck, I'm a failure. But you get over it because time heals all. So you get over it. You talk your way through your excuses and shit. And then you go to the next city and then you start your thing there. You don't complete that marathon, and you know you don't think you're good enough, and we go through these stupid mental spirals where, like, you are your worst enemy. All these stupid aphorisms that everyone in the world has come up with. Same man in the mirror, same shit. It's all up to you. Like, I'm glad there's life coaches, and I'm glad there's barbarian philosophers, and I'm glad that there's all these people that are out there to help, but eventually I think it all comes down to the people unlocking themselves to be able to grow into that tribal leader pillar. And you know, and when you do that, I'm sure you've been at one point in your life where you were just like that was your peak, that was your, like, fuck, if I could just live at this 100% this whole time, I made it. Right. But it doesn't happen like that, and so we go through these stupid ups and down spirals and stuff, and so we keep going back and forth and back and forth, and that's where it's like, dude, we got to get to a species again where we just start accomplishing, start something, finish something, say something, do something. Like, now we're becoming a society where it's like, we got part 1 down, but the rest of the movie and part 2 and the sequel, shit just doesn't turn out right, or it doesn't, we don't have the same vision, blah, 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 the shit fails, no one went to go see the movie, you suck.
Well, so, to go to your friend that you're talking about,
yeah.
And I think we all have some variation, maybe to different degrees and perhaps in different areas, but I think as a general rule and thumb in life, there are certain, as you said, personal obstacles, right? So, I lack skill set X, right? And I can get pretty far even with that lack of skill set X.
Okay.
Right? But eventually you reach a level where you can't go any further unless you get skill set X addressed.
Okay, yeah.
And you can stop and turn around and say, okay, I've hit the wall again, and fuck, I'm giving up until you start again. But you're still going to have to come up to that wall, right? Stopping and not pushing past that wall and breaking through that wall doesn't get rid of the wall. It just takes longer because now you have to go back to the beginning, the starting line, and then work your way back up to it, and you get there again. So what do you think it is, to use your friend as an example, but with people in general, that kind of stops them? People who have a perpetual issue with not being able to break through that wall. You know what I'm saying?
I got you 100%. It's just, the answer is almost so complicated that it's simple.
Okay.
It all boils down to you. Like, the answer is within you. You're the one that's going to decide to either receive the information, process the information, and do something about the information with that, or, just listen and not do anything, or just the seminar is there and you just don't show up. Again, like, I think it's him feeling comfortable and not learning how to get through that way of being able to pick up X with you and make it equivalent. Like, when you were explaining that, I thought of a door, just a doorway, and like, you put one leg through, and in order for you to get through the door, you need to reach back and grab your other leg, and pull it with you, or it's not going to go. Now it's just so fluid that people are like, oh, you just walk through the door. What if you were a baby and you had to like be taught this, and you needed instructions, and like you needed to see, like a bird doesn't just learn how to fly and eat. It sees its mom like go and get the food, come chew it, give it to them, and then it develops its eye muscles, and then it gets to look out into the shit. Oh shit, I'm up high. Oh, I just saw mom just jump. Wait, we could do that? And then they just keep progressing, and then they learn. But they have an instruction. They have like a guide. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, everyone needs a guide, but eventually you're going to be the guide.
Right. You
need one,
right,
to be one.
Right. I got you.
Right.
So
like,
you got it in. Salvador Dali has this quote. I'm probably going to fuck it up a little bit, but he says something along the lines of, "You can't master something unless you're willing to learn it." I know for a fact I just fucked that up. But the gist of it is, you can't become a teacher unless you're willing to be a student. But at some point, in order to become the teacher, you have to do the thing you're taught yourself.
Right.
You can't just take the test and then that's it.
Right.
You take the test and then you got to go do it.
Right. So that's like, you can't just start something and stop it, is what needs to stop happening, because you can start something and stop doing it. And that's what's happening. And that's what's happening with my friend in LA. He's starting something, and then he's stopping it, and he's not allowing it to go all the way. He doesn't know what going all the way is. Number one, because he doesn't have, I think up until this point, enough guidance.
Okay.
And that's why he's hitting his wall, because he doesn't know any better. He needs that guidance. But even if you receive the guidance, it's the act of doing and the action of following what that guidance was taught or told. If you don't follow through with that, like, it just defeats the whole purposes. So that's like a whole, that's like the will and determination that I don't know how that can be taught. It's like,
okay, so
that's like an even basic thing that needs to be addressed first. Maybe there's like certain pillars of our philosophy that we need to have strong enough for us to mentally be able to coordinate everything and get moving on to whatever it is that we want to do. And so it's like it's an inception like a motherfucker, like tribe inside a tribe inside my brain. It's a tribe. It's like,
well, and I know you're a fan of Jim Rohn, and you've been a student of Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
And he talks about
R.I.P.
You said you use Russian?
No, I said R.I.P., but it did sound like I need a P. Yeah. R.I.P. Jim Rohn.
Yeah, he talks about the importance of philosophy.
Yeah.
Right? And I think societally, and this is another point that is kind of touched on in that book, The Way of Men, we have a society that says it's okay to, in other words, we kind of frown on tough love. We frown on saying, hey, you need to make this standard, right?
Right.
Everyone, hey, man, we all have our own thing.
Right.
Everyone's, we're not, hey, just
working at our own pace.
As long as everybody's nice.
Participating.
Right. It's the participation trophy thing.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
you don't have to actually win to get the trophy. As long as you are, you play fair and you play nice, then you win too.
And in some cases get into the just show up.
Right.
And that's, you're a cheerleader now.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that has something to do with it. I think, and especially for men and for young men, that's very detrimental. I think...
the philosophy.
Yeah, that philosophy I think is very detrimental. It's important to have kind of a social kick in the ass when you're not bringing enough to the tribe. Because, look, there was a point in time where if you don't bring enough to the tribe doesn't survive. We don't eat. You can't just go out and hunt, and every time we go out on a hunting party, you start making a bunch of noise and you scare all the deer away. And then nobody ever gets any meat. Like, if you're going to fucking be a part of this group, you have to carry your own weight. You have to meet certain standards.
Right.
And I think the idea of, as a society, us pulling away from that has kind of left those mental muscles atrophied.
100% yes, through and through. That's exactly what's happened. It's through media, not social, because up until this point we're talking about this social did not exist. They already got a hold of how to do this shit to us. So this whole TV, just watching other people's lives and seeing that, that's how, and then watching this and be like, that's how. Well, no, I'm not gonna. You watch this kid, and as stupid as it sounds, you watch this show, and the brother hits his sister, and before there was never any violence in between families, but after that show, a little kid accidentally hit his sister because she stole an extra pancake, whatever the fuck. And it just grew, and this media has done that. Fuck it, I'm not even blaming it on the media, though. Because, like I said earlier at the beginning of the conversation where I said everyone grew up different, it's what's in that household that was passed down to you. Some are fortunate more than others, but the choice is there. You can pick up right now and not know anything and go and learn whatever it is that you want to learn.
Right.
Like, you have the capability of doing so by any means. Right. Like, I can't get to the library, take the bus. I don't have internet. That's why you're going to the library. Like, there's like, excuses have become...
Information is so abundant and so readily available that you no longer, like, stay on the tribe analogy, if we are born into a tribe and there's 500 people in the group and nobody in this fucking group knows how to read, then nobody's ever going to know how to read, right?
Exactly.
Until some motherfucker from 3 mountains over comes over and teaches somebody.
And that's if he wants to teach us the right thing.
Now,
because he has the ability to then
right,
to teach us whatever he wants.
Right. But now, information is so readily available to everybody that there's really no excuse for somebody. You're not forced to stay in whatever paradigm you were given as a child.
Correct.
Once you become an adult, once you start gaining independence,
even before that,
once you start, and
start
I think within degrees, as you start getting older and nearing adulthood, you get more and more and more, a bigger chunk of that pie, where you can start developing some kind of cognizance and awareness of who you are, what you're doing, how you relate to the world, and saying, do I like where this is going? Do I like what I'm seeing? And if not, Google is a motherfucker. YouTube is a motherfucker. How can I start learning the skill sets and learning the ideas and philosophies that will better assist me in getting to that next level, so I don't have to be stuck with this paradigm that I'm dissatisfied with?
Right. So I guess all they have to do is Google Barbarian Philosopher, and then
you know what?
That's
an excellent start. It's a good start. But I mean, look, anybody, man, fucking shit. Like for me, for example, when I first started training jiu-jitsu, right? That was my first. I mean, I'd done, like, when we were teenagers, 3 or 4 months of Kempo, then, 5 months of this, just throughout my life. But I never really got consistently into anything until I started training jiu-jitsu. And I remember I had been about a year, maybe a year and a half in, and I had started to develop a bit of a skill set. And there was this guy named Ahmad, little, short, buff as fuck dude, right? And he came in, and my skill set, despite being nowhere near as strong or as athletically gifted as him, I was able to kind of tap him and kind of dominate him a little bit. But very shortly, within like 3 or 4 months, he had learned just a few little basic things. That those basic things, in addition to his athleticism, nullified my superior skill.
Got it.
And it was a wake-up call for me that I'm going to have to, step my game up. And I'm going to have to do extracurricular work.
Yeah.
So I started getting into like a calisthenic program and really kind of working out more, lifting weights a little bit. And about a month later, it was back to now I'm kind of, okay, I'm dominating him a little bit more. And things kind of, he wasn't able to nullify me as easily.
Right.
But that was a wake-up call for me. And that was a life lesson where I said, damn, if I can take this extracurricular work and just doing 20 minutes a day, 30 minutes a day of a little bit extra here can make up for the lack that I had, where else in my life can I do that? If I can go on YouTube and look up how to do a better arm bar, well, I have an issue with money. Maybe I can go on YouTube and kind of look up some ways to be a little bit more frugal, how to maybe do better with my money, maybe how to be a little bit more disciplined or a little bit more motivated.
Right.
And the necessity and the value of just taking that extra little bit, that extra little curricular activity, and compounding that over time,
Yeah, see, that's like, it's like adapt or die. You gotta adapt. You don't have the internet, go where there is some. You don't have any money, go and find some free stuff. There's you gotta start somewhere. That's the whole. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's there. It's all there. So okay, it's there. Now, what is stopping you? You decide what stops you. Oh, I can't because whatever fucking option or whatever excuse that people come up with. That's it. You just gotta overcome those and just get it done. All these millionaires, and I've been trained by millionaires on how to fucking do plentiful stuff. And man, it's just getting it done. A lot of them will tell you it's just you saying you're going to do something and you actually do it. You follow through. You said that, hey, it'd be really cool if, like, we were to build this, like, thing and we can get inside this thing and then this thing can take us to another place and we call that flying. If they would have never gone through with that, we would have all been like just where we were at, fucking Oregon Trail. We gotta go back to fucking, you wanna go to Dakota? March, motherfucker.
Right.
Go. But we've like, it all boils down to people and what they want to do. This information is now online that we're talking about. We're going to plug in a whole bunch of stuff that can help them learn some of these skills that you should know by default, right? But again, like, yeah, you Googled Barbarian Philosopher and then that's where you stop. Like, no, go through, and then when you hear us and you hear people recommending things to you, like, go and look that shit up. Go and click it. Go and watch it. Go, like, that's the frustrating part. Is like the information. Even for, well, I'm only going to speak for myself, but even for me, there's so much. I know it. There's so much more potential that I have within myself to do so much more that I haven't done it yet. I'm going to, that's what everyone says, right? But, like, I'm getting to that point where it's like, hey, I'm now not, my goal is to not just go to the library and learn from that one book, one skill, but become the librarian and has an index of just a whole bunch of stuff. All his categories of her are up. Everything has been raised. Even if it's not even you're good at it, just be aware of it. That's like right. The first step. And that philosophy will really help you out with that. But yeah, I think like more important so we're talking about like this mental thing, right? But the other, let's say, pillar, or the other leg that needs to come through the door is the action of it. Right. Like the what do you call it? Whatever the hell. Physical. Whatever makes it physical and logy at the end. That's, whatever that is, that's what we need to do. We need to turn it in from this, Google it. Like, that shouldn't even be a phrase. Like, you should get zapped if you don't Google it. Like, don't ask, and then they say Google it, and you still don't know 5 minutes later, you should get shocked. Build that into our phones. Put that in our phones, Apple. Put some fucking things to force us to learn good things about ourselves, or we get punished.
I think, and this is not my idea specifically, but I think it applies. A lot of times, I think in moving towards a goal, our stomach can be bigger than our eyes, right? Very true. So, to use a very simple analogy, if I say, you know what, I want to be stronger, right? And I see fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. God damn, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's strong as fuck. Look at those pecs, look at those shoulders. I want to look like that. Well, what is Arnold Schwarzenegger bench pressing? Oh, he's bench pressing fucking 487. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm putting 487 on the bar. And I'm going to go hit that shit. And you don't move it, and it kind of zaps the motivation out of you because you tried to take on too much, right? And so I think for a lot of people, especially people who don't have a history of success or don't have a history of kind of pushing through those walls, it's important to start out with a small goal and gain some confidence at something that you can do. Okay, I've done this. Boom. All right. Well, now that I know I've done that and I've done it 2 or 3 times, that's now a normal part of my paradigm. Okay, let me add a little bit more to it. I'm going to take on a bigger project. And you hit that. Now you've completed that. You've reached that goal a little bit. And you kind of consistently add on. And eventually you can kind of grow into whatever the big obstacle of life that you're trying to tackle may be. There's a saying confidence comes from competence, right? And it's a circular thing, because you become confident at something because you know you've done it before. You're competent at it, and the more confident you are, the more you're likely to see yourself as competent to try something bigger,
right?
And it becomes this kind of repeating cycle of success.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man. I'm so glad you mentioned that. That's a huge thing too. You're 100% right. We're you can't just gulp a whole bottle of water unless you're dared to do so. You know, you put this shit on YouTube for views, but you drink it by sips. You take little by little. You don't eat the whole steak. You go at it little by little. So that's a very valid point that you just made. And one thing that really, I know I'm about to butcher this quote because this shit was real life. So it wasn't no fucking made up person or, you know, some historic person that said this and in the books for like, whatever this dude was to me, he was a motivational speaker at the time. I'm sure he's on to larger, much greater things by now. But this dude was just the man, Boaz. Damn it, Boaz! I'm gonna butcher your name so bad. Rosenberger, something like that. But Boaz, Boaz. Look that dude up. He said to me one day in a small little office, and he was training. It was like an elite sales force that I was a part of, and this millionaire boss bought. No.
It's not Boaz Rosenblatt?
No.
Okay.
No. But Rosenberger, something like that, with an at the end. But I'm gonna definitely look him up because this dude like said some real ass shit, and it was just phenomenal. So we're sitting there, this elite sales team, and this guy was flown in to talk to us. And we listened to him, and in this small little conference, there was this book that they wanted us to read. And none of us we were really good at what we did, but none of us really had the structure. And I'm going to get back, I already see that I'm digressing, but I'm going to get back to it on the subject that you just left. But this dude told us about this book and said, hey, you know, a lot of us were like, I don't know if we want to read all of it, or like if we have time, or all these excuses we came up with. And he was like, look, can you just read 10 pages a day for me? Not 11, not 9, but just 10. Literally, pick up the book, read 10 pages. Wherever you start, wherever you left off, 10 pages, close the book. This is the really cool part that he said, but they said, close the book, and this was a self-improvement book that I'll plug in later, but read the book, 10 pages, close it, go and practice that for like 15 minutes. Remember when we used to go out and just socialize and do it, right? So it was like an experiment. It was fun. It was like, we you know. So same thing. You read this book, 10 pages, shut it. Go and practice it. Every single day. All he said, even if you don't practice, fuck it, just every day. But you will get better if you practice, right? But every day, just read 10 pages. Close the book. He said, if you would have done that in a year, and this is where I think I butchered it because I don't know what exact formula this was, but it was something like, in a year, if you do this, you would have read the book 7 times over.
Right.
When we didn't think about it as a whole book, you see a Game of Thrones book or something, you're like, fuck no. I'm not reading that shit. Like, there isn't a flight anywhere in this world that'll make me want to read, maybe. But that's far as shit. So, no, man. It's the whole, don't eat your whole meal, you know, little by little. Feed yourself, you know. But it's start somewhere.
Right.
Start somewhere and just go little by little. You made yourself a promise that you were going to go do this much calisthenics and this much this and this much that. And you set, this is important too, set reasonable, achievable short-term goals. So you should have your short, your intermediate, and your long-term goals.
Right.
But your short-term goals should be things that you can accomplish. Don't, like you said, just do this whole thing, just little piece by piece.
Well, that's the point, because so you are somebody who, over the years, I've noticed you have a good track record of kind of setting your mind on something and getting it done, right? I've seen you over the years say, okay, this is my project that I'm working on now, and shortly thereafter, you know, you're doing it. That's something I've kind of started growing into over maybe the last year or two personally.
Yes.
But for you, what has been, if somebody is listening to the show right now and they're saying, okay, I like what you're saying, manageable goals, midterm goals, short-term goals, long-term goals, but I don't know how to set goals. I've never been organized enough in my life to properly set goals. What would be the advice of something that's actionable and practical that they can take today and start doing in their daily life to better do that?
Okay, what they could take today is, obviously, I can't give you something that you need to have in your hands physically. I can't tell you to go and do something. Like, what I'm going to tell you is right now, free, in your mind. You don't have to download shit. You just need to hear it and then do it. But it's the act of keeping your word. Like, I like you just said, I've said something and then you see me later on doing it. It's the whole point. The part one is done, and then I work on part two. Like, I gotta get it done. I can't. It was crazy because I was never really good at homework. I didn't get that done, and that's bad. I shouldn't be admitting it like I'm proud of it. I'm not, but I'm just being real with you guys. Like, I didn't, but I'm still okay. You know, so don't let it be like, oh, I didn't do that as a child. Oh, I can't do it now. Like, nah, you can pick up wherever you are at this point and just, you know, like I said, just keep your word. You say that you're going to do something, like, just do it. That's and make it short. Like, I don't know how to set short-term goals. Okay.
Let me ask you this, because I know for me, it helps me to write things down. That's a habit that I kind of falter at, and I notice whenever I kind of structure my days or structure my weeks, say, okay, this is going to be my goal for this week, or these are my blank amount of goals for this week, and then at the end of the week, say, all right, next week, these are my goals. Kind of physically writing things down, I find, is a practice that helps me manage the size of the steak that I want to eat. Is there anything that you do like that as a practice? Not necessarily something you have to buy or download, but any activities. That's
what I'm saying. Like, it's the practice of using my brain to be my calendar book and, you know, that to-do list. And, you know, I just try and stay productive as much as I can. Just try and get things accomplished during the day, end to finish. Or if it's not end to finish, it's I chopped at it today.
Right.
I'm getting this thing done, but I'm chopping at it here and here. But it's like I just said, you can't, like you just said, it's easier somewhat for you to write it down. That's where I'm like, what if you were alone in a cell by yourself? You didn't have no writing utensils or anything with you. It was just you and maybe a sheet of clothing on you. Like, are you going to become stupid and just completely dumb and just not know how to say, let me out of here by the time you're out of there? Or can you become smart and better and work on all these things that we're talking about without having any tools? No pen, no paper, just you inside of your head realizing that you can become better and then just practicing that. Short term, I want to wake up tomorrow by 10 a.m. Something, again, that's achievable that you can do. If you go to work and you wake up late, tomorrow, even if it's just for tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and not hit the snooze button. When that thing goes off, I'm up. I'm just going to get up, feet hit the floor, the devil knows I woke up, let's get it. But the whole, practicing, I don't know. I think I'm more on a mental thing, and I think that's where it's going to start. Because mentally, I need to tell myself that I need to go and buy some piece of paper and a pen if I want to write this shit down. It all starts, I feel, in your head. And then that's what that's what helped feed my philosophy on getting things done. That's why you've seen me say things and I'm then doing it. I'm in the process. I'm just trying to go with, I put all my efforts towards what it is that I'm saying. Because if not, words are pretty powerful. And if I'm not doing what I'm saying, then I'm that paper tiger that you've mentioned. And I nobody should be a paper tiger unless you're into that shit. But I don't know who should, because a paper tiger doesn't belong in a tribe. A paper tiger is that person that holds no substantial weight and it's just, a waste, right? You don't want that in your tribe. And you have to become this person that even can recognize someone that appears a certain way and isn't that behind the scenes. That's pretty important too in picking your tribe. A lot of people look like they should belong in your tribe. Look like they should. Remember, that was something that I also wanted to talk about, is image.
Right.
And that goes beyond clothes. That goes this dude looks fit. If he throws on bummy clothes, then he looks bummy. But if he throws on rich clothes, he looks rich. It's just the perspective and the presentation that you do, right? So, damn, that was a whole nother, I feel tangent, but...
Basically, being able to differentiate between the image someone is presenting and the actual substance that's there. I think that was the train of thought.
Right, but before that, it was where I started tangenting. What did I...
Paper tigers.
And before that. Anyways, the thing is mental. It's a whole inception of your mind. You have to be able to go and access your mind, your present right now. And then, in your present right now, there's a small voice that talks to you. So you listen to that voice and then go deep as you can until you get to the you that's comfortable with admitting whatever it is that's wrong with you and saying it. Get to that voice. And that voice say, hey, you know what? I'm a man. I'm a woman. I say this. And once that voice says it, I think that's when you start to kick in. Jim Rohn used to say that human change wasn't really possible until that human was, there was different levels of dislike and not liking how I am or how I'm living or whatever. But he said the deepest level that you can get to is once a human's disgusted with the way things are. Only then will it make that change. And so either A, you're going to be put in a position where it's you're backed up against the wall and this is it. This is the decision that needs to be made. You make it, or you build up to it. But basically, the congruency of what you're deep down inside saying actually happens. Not what you say to others. Not what you're yo, yeah, I'm going to do that one day. And then you never see that person again. Well, I never saw you fighting with snakes either. But that's what you told that one person when you went traveling somewhere and the shit just popped out of your mouth. You never did it. Doesn't matter. The shit that matters is what you tell yourself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And the act of fucking doing it. Getting
holding
it
yourself
done.
accountable.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy where someone said this to me and they were This dude was wise too. I'm gonna drop him later too, but he was more of a different life coach, let's say. And he said, man, if there's this girl, this badass bitch, she's a 10, and she broke my heart, and I was like, you know what, after going through that heartbreak, I was like, I'll never let someone break my heart like that. Like, as a man, I just said, I will never let a girl break my heart like that. She was bad, fucking 10. And then you just said, I will never let a girl, no matter how bad this 10 is, I'll never let a girl do this. And then a 10 walks by and you're like, oh shit, hey mom. And then you like right back in it. You didn't keep your word as a man. That you said, I would never let a 10 do that to me again. Then from then on, 10s and lower, never do that shit to you again. You don't allow them to. Because as a man, you said what you said you were going to do. Right? And when this guy told me that, I was like, it didn't matter it didn't matter the way he said it to me or how he used it or what contents or what the examples were, but it was the act of it hitting and unlocking in me that when I say something as a man, that's what I said. That's it right there. So when I look at myself and I say something, it's just so congruent now. It's like I only speak on the things that I can't do. And so I just do that. But sometimes I get out of my comfort zone and I speak on something that I might not be able to do. It's in my reach. I could possibly do that if I really focus on it. I can really hit that. But I just lied to that person probably and was like, yeah, I could do that, when production only allowed 10 units to be available, but they needed 40,000 units. I had the guy that distributes and he's got the manufacturing plant. Let's do it. Right. All right. 40,000. Maybe I wasn't ready, but I put myself in that, got myself out of that comfort zone, right, to get into that situation, and somehow I did it.
In other words, and we're at like the 55-minute mark or so we'll probably wrap it up. But in other words, you created a situation that was just beyond your comfort zone, to force yourself to grow into that. It's not like it was impossible, wasn't the most impossible thing. It was like, hey, you got one of these? Yeah. Do you have two? Well, I had the only one in the world. The only way another one could come up is me again. So yeah, probably. And then just be congruent. I'm telling you, just keep your word as a human being. Just keep your word. Don't say shit unless you're going to do it. And learn how to just, keep your mouth shut. Don't say the things that you can't do. You put a spell on yourself and you're like, I can't fight that guy. Boom, you just cast a spell on yourself right there. You can't fight that guy because you said you can't fight that guy. Okay. I think that's a good point to end off on, brother.
Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that next time.
No question. We're at about the hour mark, man. So I think this was a good conversation. As always, it's a pleasure to have you, man. It's a pleasure to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you for having me, bro. This is cool. Thank you for the listeners, for everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, all that good stuff. And peace.
Yeah.